Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Aaron Minjut and we have a very special conversation that we're going to have today with two very special people from the region. We have Devan from the Philippines. Hi Devan. We have Nick from Singapore. How's it going, Nick? And myself, Aaron from Malaysia. We are, if you've been tuning in to the recent coverage of the Pokemon TCG here in Southeast Asia, we are three of the six casters from the official Pokemon TCG Asia English stream that has been covering the championships, our national championships essentially, in the past couple of months. So welcome Devon, welcome Nick. How's everyone doing today? Devon, how's things at your end, buddy?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Thank you very much. To everyone there, hi, my name is Devan. Everything's good here. The Philippine community has been vibrant. We're having more players. I started playing back in 2015 competitively, but I was playing when I was a kid. But yeah, I started playing competitively 2015, so that's been about 7 years, give or take. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh,
Nah.
and for those out there, I think it would be nice if we just share our cards,
Yeah.
or at least our favorite card. So yeah, here I am a big Blastoise fan, although I don't have Blastoise in the background. It's mainly Pikachu. But yeah, this is my Shadowless Blastoise. I'm not sure if you guys can see it well
Ooh.
on the stream, but yeah, it's over there. It's one of my favorite cards. So yep, that's pretty much it.
We'll take a word for it as shadowless, right? We'll take a word for it. We couldn't see it, but we should it should be a shadowless.
Yeah,
What
for
about you,
sure.
Nick? How things are for you down south, my friend?
Nicholas Yong from the Southern Islands here. I must see my
Of
trademark
course,
line.
yeah. Why? You have to. You have to.
True, that's true. So, okay, finally, I'm in a podcast where I'm not in the lead of the podcast. Thank God. My name is Nicholas. I am founder of Southern Islands. So, we are doing competitive news coverage focusing on Singapore, but of course around the region as well. And we are currently in this like lull period hosting our Grand Slam tournament number 4 already, our grassroots tournament where it's for the players, so we don't take any money. Every money we take in, we pump back into the tournament series. It's a series where we have like different stores in Singapore all participating inside, collect points, and then you qualify. Because secretly we still want to collect points and qualify based on a point threshold and not really on a top ranking thing. Since Devon showed his favorite card, I guess I show my favorite card. Okay, I don't particularly have like a really super favorite card. If you come to mind, like my favorite new VMAX A that I pulled from a pack, the ADP A, I love that card. But I think I would shout out this Latias Latios card. Shout out to Malik who loves Latias. Ayo, sorry, Malik. But this card belongs to my brother, Keith Yong, the better Pokemon player than me, but now playing Flesh and Blood. But if he played Pokemon, I think he will confirm trash everybody lah.
Nice to say. Thank you, Nick. And of course, my name is Aaron. I'm from Malaysia. I have been in playing the Pokemon TCG for way too long. I want to say it's been more than 2 decades of playing this game that I love. Casually at the start, of course, and then competitively from 2011 up until 2018, 2019. That was the last real season that I was chasing for worlds, chasing for competitions. Definitely
So
taken
really,
a.
I've seen you in Worlds before.
I've seen you at Worlds before. Must be the same one,
Hey,
So, no, but yeah, it's been a long journey with Pokemon for me, and I've been part of a couple of organizations previously. I've been a Pokemon professor for some years, and then segue into some of the content creation pages that currently are no longer active, like Pokemon Malaysia Central, Team Rainbow Wing. Recently, I started coming back again. We're now working on content creation as well for the region, much like what Nick has mentioned. Southern Islands. Shout out to them. They're doing a brilliant job down in Singapore and also for the region. I'm trying to complement that with some content of a different flavor. We want to focus on some of the players that have been doing pretty well in the last couple of tournaments. And we want to bring the spotlight on our region in as many ways as possible, right? So that's where I'm coming in. And of course, the podcast that you're tuning in right now is fresh. We don't have a name for this yet. We just know there are three of us wanting to talk about Pokemon TCG. And if you like this video that much, give us a like, give us a follow, do all the normal stuff that people ask you to do, and make sure you watch till the end because we have a lot to cover in today's session. Now, before I go, obviously, my favorite Pokemon and favorite card has to be Ho-Oh because Ho-Oh is, as you say, the Pokemon of rebirth, and no matter how many times I leave the Pokemon TCG, I seem to come back. So that's why Ho-Oh has a special place in my heart. You can see one more up there as well, which is not really built yet, but it's still there. Anyway, moving forward, let's do a quick review. We had a very, I want to say, interesting couple of months here in Southeast Asia. We had the regional leagues in the month of, I think I want to say April, and then some spilling into May. But I think the more recent event that is capturing everyone's attention, at least a couple of weeks ago, was the national championships, or the championships, actually, the Philippine, the Malaysia, and the Singapore championships, which crowned what we like to deem the national champion, who will then represent the country at Worlds directly into day two, right? And we'll start off in chronological order. The first one being the Philippine championships. I want to pass it on straight away to Devon. Devon, tell us all about the Philippine championships as it unfolded.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was an amazing tournament. So we had our session on our finals rather on May 13th. So that's from 12th to 13th. There were about 133 players who basically battled it out. And then from our top 16, there were basically a lot of Lost Zone decks, Mew VMAX decks, which are basically our champion used to secure the win. We also had some Arceus Giratina decks, two Gardevoir decks, one Dialga V-Star, which I was actually looking forward to having the stream, but unfortunately weren't able to secure that. And we also had a Lugia, two Lugia decks. And the funny thing is, during the first round, they weren't streamed. It was Lugia versus Lugia, so it's like just like clashing. So it's like basically a lot of the decks were basically mirror matches, and then to the point that in our finals it was basically Lost Box versus Mew. And if you just go ahead and rewatch the stream that was already posted in the YouTube channel of the Pokemon Asia English page, you would basically witness the strategic brilliantness and humor of Joshua Doctolero and how he was able to navigate through that deck and basically secure the win for all of his matches because he was also featured on the first match on the first day.
Mm.
So yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean, as a player as well, because I have been competing for this season as well. Um, there are a lot of Mew decks in the Philippines because that was basically the most accessible one. But then none of us would actually, imagine that it would take it all the way to the championships because in the Philippines, what's interesting about it is there are a lot of Darkrai users. Simply because of yeah, I know it's
I
surprising,
was
but
like,
yeah,
what?
there are a lot of Darkrai V-Star users. Um, Simply because of the nostalgia that they had during the XY series and also the Black and White series. We had the YGZ, we had the Darkrai EX,
Mm.
and since there are a lot of people playing Mew and it's an easy three prizer, people started playing Darkrai and Darkrai V Star, and yeah, basically that's how they started working through it. But then, of course, with the prominence of the Lost Zone decks and of course other decks, Arceus, etc. So we don't necessarily have a predictable meta for the community. There's just a lot of frequencies about certain decks here and there. The only difference was, for example, in particular for Lugia, we had Lugia for the previous format. Yeah, like everybody
Mm.
was piloting Lugia and everybody was creating counters against that. Lost boxes would play Raikou. The Arceus decks would basically have Flying Pikachu on board. But then, after Lugia lost its prominence because of the rotation, all other decks started popping up here and there. And then, like, Lugia is one of the most famous ones. Like, a huge percentage of our players, like, started playing that because of the Mew matches. But then, yeah, unfortunately, they weren't able to make it to top 16, proving that Mew is still superior in many ways. And of
Mm.
course, including other decks, just Lost Box. etc. And then yeah, basically Joshua Dactilera taking the ultimate win with Mew Genesect, which he doesn't usually play to begin with. He is an avid Lost Box user, and with him piloting this, it just proves how incredible he is. He has been one of our best players in the Philippines for the past X number of years. Even before I started, I already knew who he
Hmm.
was. Coming into the competitive scene of Pokemon, and it just shows that Pokemon doesn't get old, and the classics still beat the rest.
Very, very well said, Devon. And if I have to, pick a brain a little bit, you mentioned that, and also Josh mentioned that he's really a lost box player, right? And he went into the tournament knowing that he was very comfortable with lost box, and then he actually, in the interview that I had with him, he mentioned that the night before he was still toying around this idea of inserting Radiant Charizard into Mew Genesect. Now I have to ask, did you ever see something like that pop up in the Philippines, at least during the national championships? And if not, what would you have thought about that? And if you imagine if you won with that tech, it would have sent shockwaves all the way across the regions. What do you think about that one line that he mentioned? Is it because he's a bit too much of a Law Zone aficionado, or did he, was there something else brewing there?
Yeah, I mean, basically having a Charizard and the ready because of course Mew. Once you take out one Mew VMAX, that's already three prize cards out. It's gonna be relatively easier for you to charge up the Charizard. Um, and yeah, that is such an interesting take. I mean, I only get to see Charizards in Lugia decks and in
Mm.
Lost Zone decks. We have that variant there, but then having it in Mew, that's a very interesting take on his end. Joshua, one of his favorite Pokemon rather is Charizard.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm guessing like, hey, I can play this. People aren't gonna expect it, so I might as well do it. But ultimately, I think through his testing, because he does rigorous testing with a lot of the community members here, and I think he just probably went for consistency in this case. But yeah, if he definitely added the Charizard there, that would be a sight to see. Probably would also have that in stream,
Oh
and
yeah.
people are gonna be like, "Oh, he's playing Mew." Then, whoa, why is there a Radiant Charizard there? It's like, yep, it's there just for that particular reason. You knock out my Mew VMAX, here's a Charizard for you.
And now I hope we're not going to inspire a whole new breed of players across the region to say,
Oh
hey,
no.
I'm gonna buy the Mew League Battle deck and I'm gonna put in Radiant Charizard with a Fire Energy. That's the first person to do that at any event, upcoming event, and show it to any three of us. We need to take a photo with them and bring it back to the podcast. We have to do that. That is,
Yeah.
we have to do it, right? Great
Yeah, you
stuff.
definitely heard it here
We
first.
heard it here first. Brilliant stuff. Look, and then I guess the next event right after the Philippines is the Malaysia Championships, which I had the opportunity to be at. Um, this was by and large the largest event, the largest locals only event in Malaysia for the history of the Pokemon TCG. We had almost 300 players. I believe the last count was 280. I didn't get the exact numbers at the end of it, but it was almost 300 players playing 8 rounds of Swiss on day one, and then of course day two top 16. We had I want to say a massive overall turnout. Both new players as well as returning players coming out. When I was there on day one, I saw so many new faces, and I was wondering if I was at the right event, because it's been definitely some years since we've had large events, anywhere around the world, right? COVID and whatnot. And to see the number of people turning up, the support this game has gotten, the competitive aspect, brewing in the local game stores, it was a great sight to see, you know. And I want to say, in terms of the meta that we had in Malaysia, the top three decks represented were mainly Lost Box in multiple variants, Gardevoir, and I think the last one was Arceus in different variants as well. Eventually, the event was taken down by Isaac Chen, a longtime player who I've actually played with at my first nationals back in 2012. By the way, we both made top eight at that tournament, and now, I think 11 years down the line, he's now the national champion, and he played my favorite deck, Arceus, Duraludon, Umbreon. So I got nothing else to say. We played our first nationals. He's back now again, and he's become the champion. And he faced off against Jacob Tan, also a longtime player, who was playing Sablezard. So Charizard now a topic of interest in both the championships so far. And I want to say, for those of you who didn't catch the stream, we actually featured Isaac and Jacob twice, in the 4 matches that we had. Those were really interesting games. You could really see the level of experience coming to the forefront for these players, being able to navigate some of these matchups, and at the end of the day, it was I believe it was down to time being called on that final game 3 of the finals, and that was how the championship was sealed, and I think overall, results aside, the event brought out a lot of positives for Malaysia. We really got to see the size of the player base, at a glance. We had players coming from all across Malaysia. We had people coming from Penang in the north, from Johor in the south. I believe we've had players coming from East Malaysia, from Sarawak, and I think Sabah as well. I personally didn't play day 1. I wish I could, but I did not, because of course I was commentating on day 2. But I was there, with the people from with my group of friends from Klang, who came from the new local game store that I go to, which is AMCC. Shout out to AMCC. This is the shirt that you can't really see the full thing, but there were at least
The AMCC shirt.
what was that?
MCC shirt lah.
Yeah, the MCC shirt. Yeah, that the word Klang on it. You'd be surprised. The league has been around, since I think October, November last year. And there were about 30-40 people repping that local game store, right? Which I think was amazing to see. It really goes to show that the game the community has taken on a new form from when we used to play back in the days, in years past. So to see that, culminating in one of the biggest events I've been to in Malaysia, that was amazing. In terms of the results, I want to shout out to all the people who were essentially crowdsourcing the information for the top 128. I went on Pokemon TCG Malaysia Facebook and I just posted, hey, can everyone just crowdsource information? And we have I think about 70% success rate on getting people's decks there. We had a very thorough data set, about the styles of decks people are playing. We saw obviously the typical decks from Lugia Single Strike. We saw Gardevoir. We saw Gardevoir with Espeon VMAX. Shout out to Darren Chen for taking that into the top 16. Crazy stuff. We saw a Miraidon in top 16. We even saw a Rapid Strike box piloted by Christopher Ismail into top 16. Shout out to Chris, because we know what happened in NAIC recently, what took down NAIC. We'll get to that in a bit. But all is to say, we had a great variety of decks, in Malaysia, and rightfully so. We, in general, Southeast Asia is a community of players with its own flavor. We like to experiment, and it was great to really be able to not just be in the event, but also to commentate over those events, those matches that we saw. So yeah, long story short, Malaysia Championships, huge event, great turnout, lots of variety. Congratulations to the winners and those who performed really well that day. But also pat on the back for everyone for being part of this amazing community in Malaysia. And I'm going to ship it straight over to Singapore. I think Singapore has an amazing story. Nick, tell us about Singapore Championships.
I don't know whether really consider amazing lah, to be honest.
Okay.
So only am I at the bottom of this stream here. I'm also, because repping Singapore, we are probably the very tiny country.
Mm-hmm.
But we had 206 players playing at the event. Although previously there was a table 108 lah. Don't ask me why lah. I don't know why there's a table 108. There was people table 108. So maybe there was a bit players. I'm not so sure lah.
Yep.
The event itself, I think it was a culmination of all the town leagues, regional leagues that we had, so that this big event was really, really huge. Guys were there. I believe if you check out the vlog that Ruben was hosting the event, so you can check out and see how the Singapore Championship was run. We even spoke soon, who's also kind of in charge of our TPC region here, who told us that the developer of the new tournament system that we are using, our Tom, I don't know what's it called now lah, was there. Who also came to the Singapore event. I didn't get to see him. Anyway, if I did see him, they're all speaking Japanese. Japanese. For our tournament breakdown, I'm looking at breakdown here because I don't remember it by heart. There was a lot of Gardevoir. Okay, like these two guys up here, I did play a bit of day one as well with my tag team caster Brian. A lot of Gardevoir. Okay, I think you should take note as well that our tournament was different than the both of you guys in that we only had top 15. We didn't have top 16.
Right. Yeah.
Because we had one guy who won the Asia Open Singapore, the first Asia Open, so he went straight into top cut. So he had the distinct advantage of playing a different kind of deck. So if you watch the stream of our stream, he was playing the first match, 1 versus 16. He took the 16 spot.
Right.
This Lost Box deck had a lot of like special attacks because his deck for BO3. Right? So a bit to play BO1. Like he had like cross switches in his Lost Box deck. Like not so common in like and like he played cross switches, I think 2 cancelling Cologne as well. So like really take advantage of like to play out to play Winning the Ninja. He had to submit his deck on before the start of day one though, so I don't know how advantageous lah.
Right.
Our top 8, our top 16. Among we had mostly Gardevoir, but there was also Lost Box. We also had Dialga Vista, but unfortunately he fell off too early, so we couldn't get to see him. The tournament itself, it came up to a finals between a new player, Dion. It was only his second tournament ever. He has never played the game previously.
Wow.
Yeah, second tournament ever against Ryan Tan. So Ryan Tan, Singaporean, but he was based in UK previously. So if you catch last year's World stream, he was on the stream. Worlds. He was playing on day 2. So it was very hot anticipated, but unfortunately, I don't know, Dion's dice is like quite broken lah. But in top 4, he beat Beyond's Lugia. Lugia couldn't set up. Game 1, total wipeout. And the finals as well, Ryan couldn't get his Gardevoir set up at all. And then own ice, right? 4 Cran Heads.
You should call out the deck that Dion played, by the way.
Okay, so 4 Cran Heads because he played Mew.
There you go.
Dion was playing Mew VMAX. To him a little bit after the event as well. That one you can check out. Mickey's Blogs, another content creator in Singapore. He got the league battle deck and bought and put it in and played tournament. It was because he played was the regional league, which is a few weeks back, and that one he played Giratina Vista, and he crashed very badly.
Right.
It was like I think 2-6 or something like that, like total crash. So for him to win it all in his like second major event was really impressive. I know that he was also held in a university. It was a SMU, I think School of Management University, and he was a student.
Oh man, that's like some feng shui thing going on right now.
Well.
That is like some feng shui thing going on. I can tell you, Asians love feng shui, man. That is. But honestly, that was amazing. Two league battle decks combined together and then played the event.
I think he was missing like 1 or 2 key meta cards.
Chef's kiss.
He couldn't get, and then he's just like won it all.
Chef's kiss.
I think
beautiful.
I think good like or something to say that even if you're a new player, I think you shouldn't be afraid to join a Pokemon tournament, right?
Yeah.
Everyone has a chance. Luck is a skill.
Luck is a skill. There, I was waiting for you to call it out. I was waiting for you to call out that shirt.
Because we think, well, I mean, everyone was playing Pokemon cards. I think generally the crowd is friendly. You know, we're not. It's not like scary to play. And then like even see a new player who just like bought the league battle that can win a tournament. So imagine if you play, you could have at World. I think TPC should pay us for advertising. To join for next year's tournament.
No, you know what? we need to get some sponsorship going on with TPC and TPCI. TPCI creates a product, TPC gives us a platform. Let's bring them together and say, hey, we're going to boost your sales for these league battle decks by like 1,000%. Thanks to our shout out, So let's do that. Like to be really fair, I think that's a brilliant story because, as you say, anyone can win, right? And to be full clarity, right? It's obviously unexpected. to have someone brand new to come in like that. But that's the miracle of the story, right? That is the max miracle. Pardon my pun.
Miracle.
But that is awesome. And I guess one question for you then Nick, like in terms of the knowing for much of my understanding of Singapore has a lot of awesome players, right? A lot of world's caliber players,
We had like, especially in the top 16, a number of like world's players were playing. Like I think most people know Clive Au. He's back. He also got into top 16, and then Yong who
Yep.
got into day 2 last year. He's still the top player. He's the number 1 player in Singapore.
There you go.
So we need that thing so he got straight in. Forget the statsman himself.
I was about to say, don't you dare forget him.
Don't forget the legend.
Don't forget him.
Finally, he's qualified. He won regional and now he's qualified. So unlike Vinjut's side who has to go and source data, we have Cash, so we don't have to go and do all that. Cash is so awesome. Not only is he like qualified for Worlds, even during the tournament itself, he's already collecting all the decks.
Oh yes, he's crazy.
That's how hardworking he is. Like, he's already collected everyone's decks. He's already prepped, for to be up on Pokestats already, the day itself. So big shout out to Cash.
It would not be a complete podcast with Singapore Championships if we didn't talk about Cash. I think that guy, he is an amazing part of the community, not just in our region, but also around the world. He has, you could say that he is the most prominent player at this point, not just from the caliber of his achievements alone, but also his impact on the community, right? That is Cash. And to that point, the question that I was going to ask was, think about the high caliber players in Singapore, right? And I think due to the fact of the density of Singapore as well, how much of that do you think would in some way propel a newcomer to have to up their game, immediately and right at the start for them to even achieve what Dion did, to go through the caliber players that he went through to get even to the finals. What are your thoughts about that? I just want to hear.
I think it's very impressive because I believe on the run up to getting to top 16, he also met Cash. I think he lost, not 100%. So yeah, it's not like he had an easy win all the way. So I believe he also played against Ralph. I think Ralph Faisal. I'm not sure, not people. He's won a couple of league cups and he was also the mastermind behind Clive's
top 4 deck. Yeah.
Top 4 deck. Yeah, he was the one who created the Zygarde EX deck that Clive brought to top 4 Worlds. We fought Jitmin as well, because Jitmin was also Jitmin, another legendary player since the bygone era, also got into top 16 and also qualified for Worlds. Yeah, so mean feat for a new player to get that far, but I think it not only speaks to the deck is Milk VMAX is a strong deck. Let's not deny that. It can carry a player, but I think still need that extra edge. He's not new to card games lah. I believe he's playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And he's played a bunch of other card games as well. So he's not new to card games in general, but and I think that knowledge of playing card games also helps knowing sequencing, timing, when to play what card and all that. But I think that discount the fact that if you are new, don't be afraid. Next season's coming up after August. Join the town league. I wish we should thought town leagues, because I think for town leagues for all of our regions it's very different. I'm just gonna say that I have not played single town league, not because we can't get elected. That's a bit different than both your guys' regions as well. I would love to pick your guys' opinions about town leagues. I'm very curious about how town leagues run in all you guys. And and also don't forget to congrats the Worlds players, which I think talk about who qualified to Worlds as well from our regions, because I believe because we have this weird thing about our CSP. So we got 5, you got 5 injured, and I believe Devon only 4, right?
Yes, we have 4.
So
Cool
why
stuff.
5, why 4? That's another
that's a good
thing about our region.
So if you guys want to hear about that, we will definitely have a follow-up episode now. How to qualify for Worlds in Southeast Asia. That's going to be a very feisty one, I think. So yeah. Great stuff, everyone. Thank you, Devon and Nick, for sharing about the championships as a whole. And now, let's take off the hat of the past and put on the hat of the future, right? we are now going to talk about the biggest upcoming event, at least in our region, before Worlds in Yokohama in August, and that is the Asia Open being held in Malaysia in under, well, I won't say when we have this video up, it'll probably be about a week until the event. And that is going to be the regional event essentially for Southeast Asia, right? So players from Philippines, from Singapore, and from Malaysia will be able to attend. Now, it may not have any impact on the World's qualification for this year, but remember, last year's Asia Open winner was able to go directly into day two of their championships in that particular season. So will we see the same thing? I'm not 100% sure, to be fair.
Yeah.
We will have to see on the day itself when these information get announced. But let's look at that event now. That's going to be the next big thing. Also because the format that we are currently in, which is Battle Styles up until Paldea Evolve, is the format for Worlds. We just had NAIC about a week and a half ago, and now we're having, Southeast Asia's big event of the same format. And I'm gonna go through both of you one after the other. What would you be expecting to see? Devan, I'm gonna start with you. If you had to put your finger on the deck that you'll be playing at this event, what would be that deck? Why? And do you think it has the legs to go, bring you to top cut? In what way?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I would be playing single strike Lugia with a twist. Well, basically we didn't have Paldea Evolved during our championship since it was on May 13th, so
Yep.
it was just SV1. So a lot of players are actually looking forward to the future events right now because of that. But basically, if I were if I attended the Philippine Championships and if I'm gonna be attending the future tournaments, I would still be playing single strike Lugia.
Mm.
Basically, the major difference there would be the stadium card. I would be running for Tower of Darkness instead of the
Ooh.
Collapse Stadium and the Mezagoza. Simply because I don't have the same luck as the champion for Singapore, who basically flipped all four for Cramomatic. I did pilot Mew earlier before, and it wasn't working for me. So I do not like guaranteed flips. At least with capturing Aroma, if I flip heads or tails, I am guaranteed to get a Pokemon. But for
Mm.
Mezagoza, with my track record, the only people who benefit from that are my opponents instead of me. So, by running Tower of Darkness basically allows me to just go ahead and discard any single strike card that I have that I don't need. So just in case that I get Ionod or I get play Judge, which in the Philippines is a lot of occurrences, especially for Iono right now. I'll be able to comb through the deck and then get my Ultra Balls, get my Professor Burnett and such, just to get my Archeops out of the way. And based on my testing, it's like it frequently happens.
Mm.
Usually on turn two, I already have my V Star and my Archeops set up, which is amazing. So yeah, for those individuals who are trying to, configure their Lugias, might as well try Tower of Darkness because it doesn't only give thin your hand and so that you can get more resources, but then just in case that you're in a ditch, to be able to uh, capitalize on basically your cards. So yeah, just go ahead and try that. It's gonna work wonders for you, and yeah, hopefully we get to see that in Worlds as well, and also in the upcoming regionals.
Very nice to say.
Pump,
No.
Pumpkaboo, yes or no? In Lugia.
Good. Yeah.
Oh,
Brilliant question.
Yeah, I don't run Pumpkaboo there, so it's just
Mm.
4 Tower of
Just
Darkness.
for-
Like, yeah, a
Okay,
solid
okay.
4. Hmm.
I like that. I mean, as an Arceus player with single strike Pokemon, I don't mind you play that. I get 2 cards off the bat as well. So yeah, go for it. You
Yeah.
know. well said, Devin. Brilliantly done. And I think Nick, you asked one of the best questions you could ask, right? Which is, do you play Pumpkaboo, right? That's pretty much the question of that deck. What about you, Nick? What will you be taking to this event if you're playing? What is you're a Mew VMAX aficionado, right? We know that,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
what is your take of Mew? We didn't see Mew doing that well, to be fair, in NAIC. I know single strike Lugia was there. It was in slightly controlled numbers, I want to say, in NAIC for Lugia. But what are your thoughts then? If Mew has sort of had a dip, do you see it coming back in time for this July event?
Okay, first, before I go on for Mew, I want to mention that our Singapore tournament was like it was the weekend of Paldea Evolve.
Right.
Is that day right came out. Ours was the week after, so it's been 1 week already.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say that a lot of people did not read the website properly and played Iono. There were a number of players who I think they were. I think they called out the players at the beginning of the tournament. So there were actually a number of people who had to come up and surrender their deck and change their cards.
Oh
Or they evolved cards.
no.
There was someone who bought backs Foul, so
Oh no.
I that because he played backs Gen Foul.
Oh
I don't.
man.
It's a bit confusing for us because in our first regional league, we were the first country in the world to play Lost Origin, I believe. Wow. So the set came out on the Friday, and then the weekend we can play already. The latest set immediately. It was totally a new format.
That's crazy. Yeah.
I can't remember. So I think a lot of Singaporeans was mixed. It was mixed, but I think they were dominated more of a lot of people play Paldea Evolve for nationals. Bit tired of the pre-Paldea Evolve format. It's quite long already. We had it.
Yep.
Especially our regional league was a few weeks before already.
Yeah,
so
same as Malaysia. It was stale. The format is getting stale. Yeah.
Yeah, so we were like, we'll play this one again. But in the end, okay lah. Now we all at least got Asia Open stuff. I think it's easy for Singaporeans. Expect the top Singaporeans to be invading Malaysia. We are coming.
Hey, don't look at me, man. I'm not even a competitive player. I'm gonna hide.
Yeah. So because especially it's gonna be the last practice.
Yeah.
For World, so I think a lot of people want that opportunity.
For sure.
So okay, back to Mew as a deck. I think Mew still has legs. Mew has legs when people don't it. So
right.
It's that period, I think, before the Philippines Championship. That was the Malaysia and Singapore regionals, right? And that, if you played Mew, you would have been in a good spot. The Philippines Championship when Mew won, then I think some other country also won with Mew, right? Was it Taiwan? I'm not sure.
No, there were a couple of events around the world. I think 3 events in a row. Mew dominated.
And then at that point, Mew became very hot. A lot of people started putting two. That's why the Rapid Strike Urshifu Inteleon played 2 Drapion in their by that point, because if they played 2 they wouldn't win. Lost Box definitely had 1 in. Arceus was, I think, contemplating whether to put 1 or not put 1. But I think after they shifted to Umbreon, then okay they didn't bother already. But I think Cash was discussing with me about Arceus adding 1 Drapion in the deck, because that will really change that match as well. So I think at the detriment of my own, if I were to play Asia Open, and I don't know if we are able to cast it, Minju, not sure. We're able to cast that one. But if I was to play, I would definitely want to play Mew. I think after NAIC, because I think a lot of our region we really refer to the ever-changing meta that changes. You just go snap and wait. Another tournament's over and then another new deck is born. So the current version of Urshifu Inteleon doesn't play Drapion, because I think NAIC everyone expected Gardevoir to be the top deck, which is why Gardevoir was a lot of Gardevoir players. There's only 1 Mew in the top 8 or even top 16.
I think it was top 16. Yeah, you're right.
Mew.
Yeah, it was very underrepresented. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think this is the kind of time where Mew would really shine. That Mew can come back. But saying that, Spirit is a very popular card right now, especially in Arceus decks. A bit scary if you want to play Mew because now we got another card that hates us Okay. Unfortunately, I would bring Mew only because that I suck with every other deck. I Kangfai, shout out Kangfai. I took Kangfai's Kyogre Lost Box deck to regionals and scored extremely badly. But I did do quite decently with Mew. And I'm still playing Mew at locals. If I were to shout out a secret deck that I've been testing out, I think someone made a joke on Twitter about playing what was that card's name again? Avery. It's a card, not Rose. It's a supporter card where you discard your entire hand cards for 2 trainer cards.
Is it Peony?
Yeah. Because Peony is the one that searched the prizes, the daughter.
Yeah.
Peony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been like playing around with Peony for a bit.
Oh, that is
So,
a
Peony,
secret tag right
that
there.
was
Dirty
like-
secret tag.
Peony is a card that I think early on in New VMAX, people played one copy of one
Yeah.
because Mew was very prominent. You want to fight the mirror, you need to find your 4 power tablets. So Peony would help that, get the 2 power tablets, and then you can draw back 6 again. So I think a lot of people about this card. I've been like testing it again. I think it has a place, but you don't want it to, because I like sometimes you get clogged hands with Mew. You like stuck with like boss and Lisa when you don't need it. And you do play if you don't play a Pelpat, you have to play a Pelpat with Peony because you might be showing away a lot of your resources. So yeah, I think that's an interesting deck that you players may want to consider playing Peony inside. I mean, I think if I want advice to give everyone about New VMAX as the long-time New VMAX player, ESL, I miss that so much. Don't think of Cram as a way to always discard your hand. Don't think of Cram as a way to get the card you want. Cram is a way to remove 1 extra card so you can draw cards. If you give flip hits, fantastic bonus. I say that my championships last year, which was the championships where everyone played like in like small boxes of 4. I was eliminated from the first round because I started Mew, and I had 2 Cram items, and I flipped both tails, so I couldn't get better very fast and lost the game.
That's a core memory right now, man, for you. That's like there.
Yeah, that's stuck in my head forever.
Ah.
So guys, don't play like some other like stable. That's Arceus is a good thing.
No, I like the last part especially, right? Because if I get to go next, I would still take my trusted Arceus, Duraludon, Umbreon. Well, Arceus, Duraludon, and Umbreon is now the preferred way of playing this deck. And I know what people will say. Hey, Aaron only plays one deck, that or United Wings, which is called Air Force Amigos now in my little one man world. But looking at the matchup spread, right, that you have, and looking at how the format has evolved, across not just the last couple of weeks but the last couple of months, I would say Arceus is probably the most flexible deck to play, right?
Yeah.
Maybe only second to Lost Zone, because Lost Zone also has a myriad of ways to execute his game plan. We've come very far since the days of Lost Zone Tina, and then Lost Zone Gudra, and now Lost Zone Kyogre, then Lost Zone Dragonite. There's so many different variants of Lost Zone. That in itself is flexibility, but Arceus is as equally flexible. And I want to call out one point you made just now, Nick, about Drapion. At Malaysia Regional League, which I was able to play at, I faced 3 Mews in that Saron tournament. I had double Drapion, and I won all 3 of those matches because of double Drapion. And I get the hate right now when I show up to a league, like to a local game store, event, and I bring my Arceus deck. The first thing people say, hey, are you playing Drapion or are you playing Umbreon? Because we know it's either one of it. Because it is that strong a card. Drapion shifts the matchup so well in your favor against Mew. And Mew was this boogie deck for Arceus, right? Mew goes second, it explodes with the Meloetta, you lose your only Arceus with energy, bye-bye, game over, right? Even till today, if we don't play Drapion, we play Umbreon, Mew can still do that. And the only reason why we feel a bit more comfortable with playing Arceus is because of Spiritomb. Otherwise, you'd probably see the same thing that happens. Fun fact, at Regional League, I will never forget the fact that I went first, double Arceus, energy to the bench. My opponent started Meloetta, empty bench. By the end of his turn, 3 Genesects, escape rope, 3 energies, knockout Arceus with energy. And the only reason why I won that match was because my opponent missed out on a damage modifier to knock out my second Drapion. The only reason why, right? And again, that in itself speaks volume about the need to play Spiritomb in Arceus. If you're gonna play Arceus, do not drop Spiritomb. That's my only advice. It's a huge card for that deck. You will
stops Mew, stops with Genesect, stops
the minion.
Lugia,
It stops
from
Lugia.
like the minion
Exactly.
to minion to the professor to Archeops.
It's a brilliant card, right? It may not be the nail in the coffin for Mew. I don't think there ever will be, because every time we get a new nail in the coffin and Mew just pops right out again. But you absolutely need to play Spiritomb in Arceus, right? It's such a good card. Now, to me, I feel like not wanting to run the gauntlet and play a different version of Arceus Duraludon. I think the trifecta of Arceus, Duraludon, and Umbreon is a stable build. Now, I say that, I also think that Duraludon gets a little weaker as long as other Arceus variants and as well as Lugia gets weaker. Lugia did see a resurgence at NEIC, I want to say a slight resurgence, but it's nowhere at the pinnacle of the format that it used to be, which I think is good for the game. It shows that, the game evolves. But as Duraludon sees, less and less impact, try maybe Flying Pikachu, right? Flying Pikachu is
coming up pretty quite a lot of Flying Pika nowadays.
Yeah, Flying Pika is an awesome card to bring in. Not just a 1/1 line. I'm talking 2/2. Literally replacing the Duraludon build. It's a very strong card in the Lost Zone matchup, because you could just say, "Hi, this is Flying Pika," and I win. Without playing any other card after this. It's also brilliant against Lugia, so you have another Lugia counter in a sense. Just be wary about the fact that you will get return knockout sometimes. And it also, hands down Palkia really well. Palkia now I don't want to say in every Chien-Pao deck. I've seen Chien-Pao without Palkia, but if there is a Palkia, that's a free prize for your Flying Pika, right? And it does well against Chien-Pao after that, because Chien-Pao doesn't have any more, non-evolved Pokemon. So that is a route that I would take. I would test that out really well, feel some comfort in that. It's also easy to play Flying Pika in terms of the energy requirement. One lightning energy and double colors is enough. Whereas for Duraludon, you always had this issue of, I prize my final metal, or I prize both my fighting energy. When do I bring this guy out? Because it's needed in this matchup, otherwise I would just fold. So it's probably a slightly less intricate build of Arceus Duraludon, or Arceus deck, I would say. Arceus binder drop, that's how I call it. Just drop your binder, and you pick whatever falls out.
Running it down here.
Well, what do you say?
Single strike.
Arceus Single Strike. Arceus Single Strike. Brilliant name, right? Arceus Single Strike. But if you're going to bring in Flying Pika, then you can't do that, right? So,
Be Arceus Flying Single Strike.
flying Strike.
That's why I agree with that though. If I was a new player, or a new player will come to me now and say, "Hey, I want to play the Asia Open. What should I play?" I think Arceus is in the best spot in the meta.
Yeah,
I would think so.
Even if Arceus had complete hate, you can't really counter this unless you're playing a 4/4 judge, like complete hate on 4/4 judge.
Yeah, or maybe like a Ting Lu that can get very 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 quickly set up or something. Then Arceus just says, "Hey, I'm going to skip this tournament and I'll come back next year."
I mean, if you meet a hot Ting Lu, I think you give the hot Ting Lu lah. That one.
Yeah, no, I'll just hey, take the way. Let's go for coffee. You can't do anything about that.
Guys, what do you guys think about like Gardevoir? Gardevoir, don't ever sleep on Gardevoir. Now got reversal energy in the format already. And then there's this thing called a reversal Gardevoir that I've seen in locals nowadays.
Oh yeah.
What is non-reversal Gardevoir? Oh, you knocked me out. Yay, thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks.
here you go.
You're behind on prizes. What kind of nonsense deck is this? Yeah,
No, it just goes to show the format is so diverse now, right? The fact that Paldea Evolve is one of these game-breaking sets. It's funny that always the May-June sets are the one that does this. We rewind time a little bit. Guardians Rising. Remember that set? That was a brilliant set that changed the game. One of the best sets ever to be released at that time of the year. It completely rattled the meta game. So I think, yeah, it's a very good point. Gardevoir is still strong. There are a lot of good Gardevoir players in Malaysia as well. I'm sure similarly across the Causeway and even in Philippines.
Chen.
Pardon?
Shout out Devan Chen.
Shout out Darren Chen. Yeah, definitely. No, I think I would diverge a little bit. If you talk about a new player coming in right now, maybe, just maybe, the easier deck to play may not necessarily be Arceus, because of the fact that Arceus has a lot of lines. Yes, your early 2 turns are pretty similar, right? You're going to go energy, pass, evolve, double turbo, and swing. But after that, sorry?
Cash calls it EA Sports.
Yes.
Energy Arceus.
Just don't
He gave
price.
EA
Just
Sports.
just
Don't
don't
give
price
EA
for
Sports
Arceus. Just don't price for Arceus like what he did. Like, and he posted on Twitter. And I'm like, oh man, that's. I hope to never have to play an Arceus game where I price all for Arceus V, right?
Locals, never mind. If you ask for price for artists in a tournament, you just pack up go home.
Yeah, no, coffee, macaroni and cheese, and that's it, right? But I would say, for a new player coming in, I would go down a different route instead of Arceus. I would say, hey, why don't you, pick up Chen Pao Excalibur? And the reason for that is because if you're talking about a new player, fairly fresh player, you'd probably have the same learning curve with Chen Pao Bex as you would with Arceus deck. Now, if it's a returning player that has some form of experience with Rain Dance style decks, it can be familiar. If they played during the Magnezone Embor era, Infinite Fandango. If they played during base set, shout out to Devan's favorite card, Blastoise, they would have played Rain Dance. So I think that deck has a bit more, there you go, a bit more familiarity compared to like Arceus. Arceus is a good deck. It's a good deck even for beginners. It's linear when it needs to be. But as the meta evolves and you have different lines that you have to think of, like, okay, when do I bring out the Umbreon? When do I, shift gears into my Duraludon? It can get a bit intricate, and sometimes, even to Starburst for 2 cards, that in itself can be a big decision point. It could make or break your game, sometimes, especially when you are spoiled for choice. Like, I have my Switch already, but I need just Double Turbo. What do I go for next? Do I go Iono? Do I go Judge? Do I go Path? And I say Path, and shout out to in Rob's list with 3 Lost City and 1 Path to the pick. That was nuts. Yeah. I didn't expect that at all. But I played it, and it's brilliant. Do it. You guys should do it. Anyway, yeah, so maybe Chen Pao Bex. I think that's a deck that, could be linear enough for a new player. It's also pretty economical because it's cards that are recently released, and you could be playing the same deck for like 3 years, I think, which is always
the starter deck coming out. You can just buy the starter deck.
Exactly, right? The starter deck is coming out.
2 bags.
Two bags, 2 Chen Pao, right? I think it's two something along those lines. But they're pretty cheap as well,
I'm very surprised, Devin. You like Blastoise, but then you never say play Chen
Pao. I was gonna say that.
Yeah, I know. Well, basically, I'm gonna experiment on the Blastoise. Basically, back in 2019, I was operating the same perfect Mew deck that was poised to attend Worlds. Yeah, I know it's mainly Mew, but it has Pip toys. So that's the thing that I wanted to play. But yeah, basically for Max Caliber, I don't know. It just there's like a specific number of Pokemon that you would need on your bench in order for it to function properly.
Yeah.
It's like we've been testing it here in the Philippines, but then like you need your Bibarel, you need your Palkia. I mean, there are some decks that don't have Palkia, but you need 2 Chen Paos there. You need 2 bags. So it's very specific on the amount of cards that you have on your bench. Like I play Lugia. Of course, there are 2 Archeops there all the time, but then you have free range on your bench. But for this particular type of deck, it's just very intricate that all specific parts need to be in place in order for the deck to continuously work and function. Yeah. So I was a bit torn about that because I also ordered the parts for that particular deck, but then I end up playing Gardevoir. So I'm one of the Gardevoir users right now along with Lugia. But in my Gardevoir, I do have a twist. I play Drifloon with Bravery Charm.
Oh,
so it's gonna swing for 300.
Yeah.
But then I also have another twist. I also have 2 picnic baskets, so that I could just if I have the card there, I'll heal it attach first, heal 30 to keep that 10 damage, so that I could swing for 330.
Yeah, no.
I mean, I've done it like once or twice. That is nasty. But yeah,
that is nasty. Duraludon VMAX says no. Don't do that. That is just disgusting.
Right? Then you'd be like, what's a Tinglu?
Oh, what? Yeah, what's the thing though? Yeah, it doesn't matter anymore, right?
Yeah.
No, I like the diversity that we have. The diversity that we have in this conversation is brilliant, right? It just tells people that, hey, keep experimenting,
I'm hearing that, and then like for us, like there's like top Chen Pao decks being very popular here. Like some people are saying it's the Singapore national deck. Exactly, see? So who knows?
Who knows, man? No, that's great. I think brilliant insights from both of you. This is going to be an interesting time of the year for us, obviously. Now, we're at time. This has been an interesting conversation. I hope all of you watching, tuning in, have had a lot of takeaways from this. But I guess the last and final question, to both of you, I won't answer this time around. It's just gonna be both of you. Would be, what do you think? What do you think would be the deck that takes down the Asia Open? It can be the same deck you're gonna bring. It can be something different. Just a one-liner. What is the deck? Nick, you're out first.
I know it's gonna win. Okay, it's gonna be Yong, and it's gonna win with Lost Box. That's what's gonna happen. We're gonna take down Asia Open, Yong. Let's go.
Right. What about you, Devan?
I know it's gonna be something different. I want something truly unexpected. I'm just placing all my bets for Tinglu.
If Tinglu wins, right?
Because a lot of people would basically want to practice with the previous format, especially with NAIC, and then of course their previous championships. And I think this is the best way to test a new deck that they're not necessarily reserving to use, but they're also anticipating other people might use the same deck that they would use for Worlds. So yeah, I just think Tinglu is just going to be a good meta call for this upcoming event.
That is worlds away from where I thought you'd land, Devan.
I know, it's weird, right?
That Tinglu doesn't
this is like the epitome of the call today.
Forever and ever and ever.
But yeah, basically,
Tinglu
I'm gonna
ready,
say it again. If Tinglu wins, you heard it first here.
If Tinglu wins, heard it here first. Yeah, you should hit that subscribe button multiple times if you see Tinglu win. All right, guys. Thank you all so much for this, and if you guys are watching from wherever you are, thank you for tuning in until this point. We hope to see you at the Asia Open in about a week or so, and if you see any of us, come say hi. I'm sure all of us will be there. I'm guessing all of us will be there. It's in Malaysia. I have to go. If I don't go, what am I doing, right? So
Devan?
What?
Devan, are you going?
We shall find out.
We shall find out. We shall find out.
Yeah, we shall find out.
Yeah.
See me there with my Lux Skill Show, 100%.
Yup. If you guys pop in the Asia Open, which is going to be held at the Pavilion Bukit Jalil on the 22nd and 23rd of July. So plugging the event because it is the biggest event of the month and this part of the year. So do find out any of us and grab a photo and just say hi. Let us know what you think of this podcast, this episode, and we will see you very soon for the next one. I hope. Take care and see us.
Bye, guys.
Ciao.